This is One Sentence News, a daily podcast featuring 3 news stories with a sentence-long summary and 1 sentence of context apiece. I'm Colin Wright. It's Tuesday, February 15th, 2022. Let's talk about the news. From Reuters, Afghan central bank says U.S. plan for frozen funds is an injustice. Last week, President Biden signed an executive order that may see half of about $7 billion of frozen Afghan central bank assets released to the Afghan people in the form of humanitarian aid, while the other half is held back and may ultimately go to relatives of 9/11 victims who were part of an ongoing lawsuit against the Taliban. This approach, while seemingly motivated by a desire to do something to help Afghan citizens who have been struggling with a humanitarian crisis in the wake of the U.S. leaving and the Taliban retaking over, has pissed off the Afghan government and quite a few international onlookers, as in the most literal sense, the U.S. government is taking another nation's central bank assets, which have been invested in the U.S., which is something many nations do, and they're thus, by some measures, robbing the Afghan government, even if the logic of hanging on to that money to potentially pay for that ongoing litigation against the Taliban, and the argument that the Taliban is not the same government that invested said money, makes sense through some lenses. From TechCrunch, despite a drop in how many companies are testing autonomous driving on California roads, miles driven are way up. The California DMV has released new data showing that although fewer companies tested autonomous vehicles in the state in 2021 versus 2020, about twice as many miles were logged. During this most recent test period, over 4 million miles, which is a little over 6.4 million kilometers, were driven by autonomous vehicles on California roads with a human safety driver ready to take the wheel in case something went wrong along for the ride, while about 25,000 additional miles were traversed by completely driverless vehicles. Those test miles were divided between 22 companies that did test drives during this period, out of 50 that had permits allowing them to do so, which is down from 58 in 2020, and Waymo was responsible for about half of those miles, accounting for about 2.3 million of them in 2021, up from about 629,000 in 2020. And from the New York Times, no hijabs for now, Indian court tells Muslim students. The Karnataka High School in Bangalore has issued a statement saying that students in the southern Indian state should stop wearing religion-affiliated clothing in class until it makes a final ruling about whether schools should be allowed to ban Muslim headscarves called hijabs. This statement and future ruling is in response to a ban on Muslim students wearing hijabs at a local school, which has led to weeks of protests by Muslim citizens who feel their right to freely practice their religion is being violated by the Hindu majority, and others by Hindu counter-protesters who, according to many outside analysts, have in recent years become increasingly nationalistic and dismissive of non-Hindu faiths. This same conflict has since spread to other schools across the state, and many campuses have closed for days due to unrest. If you're finding some value in One Sentence News, consider leaving a quick review wherever you get your podcasts and/or sharing the show with a friend. You can find out more about this show or subscribe to the email version at onesentencenews.com. And you can support this and other related projects, like the Let's Know Things and Brain Lenses podcasts, at understandery.com.